for counselors?
If we go, how long we have counselors?
We see we have a lot of things to do.
The
people we are using as counselors are civil servants, teachers, businessmen and women.
The counselors who
are not devoted their time fully on counseling. But when we have the ministers as counselors, it will go a very long way to help. And they say these people to be trained should be ready to do the following. Acquire more knowledge. Devote time to make sacrifice for the good of another person. How do you do this? Like you are sitting there and your member is teaching you. You are trying to acquire knowledge. The knowledge that will help you perfect in what you are doing. Trust me, with the knowledge of guidance and counseling, it will help you go a long way in shepherding your flock. That's not an idle boast. And then he says it will devote time to make sacrifice. In other words, there is sacrifice in the work. You may have somebody to counsel. You have a personal problem. You haven't solved it. But you are solving the problem of your flock. Can you relate to that?
Yes.
You are in your house. You have your own particular problem. Your problem haven't been solved. And then your flock comes to you with his problem. Will you tell him to go? Because I have my own problem. Will you say so? You will solve him first. And then begin to think about your own. And he says anybody that is too busy with many other things should not bother to come for training. That's still we are talking about devoting your time to counseling. All government trained teachers, nurses, men and women who can read, write, and interpret the Bible should be trained as counselors. Because they can apply their knowledge into situations with the aim of assisting to solve their problem. Remember, the end product is to assist your member. One who needs you so that they can progress more than they have been doing. Once it is good for your flock, it is good for you.
When your flock is good, you feel good too.
But when all your members are suffering, I don't know how you yourself will be looking like. So that's why it's imperative we know this to help our flock. Okay. Now, it now says that ministers should be equipped with the counseling skill to enable them to attend effectively and care for the psychological needs of their people. In other words, psychology is still what? Important. Remember we said that you need to study your clients. Read and listen in between the lines. And then find out the problem. Some may even have a problem, but they cannot express. Have you met such a person?
Yes.
So it now behoves on you
how
to find out the person's problem,
analyze
it effectively,
and
then begin to solve the problem. Without proper analysis, it will be like me massaging the waist when the problem is on the leg. Counseling is not like carpentry or mechanical work. You know, Nigerian mechanics, your car has a problem. You bring it to them. It is trial and error, true or false? Trial and error. He will say it is the kick. Remove your kick. Put another one. The problem is there. You have paid for the kick and the workmanship. Then he said, no, it is the fuel gauge. And then you go there again. The problem is still there. Trial and what?
Error.
You go to carpentry works. You know, we have those we call cut and join. Counseling is not like that. Quackery should not be there. Because you are battling with somebody's soul. Now, if one has all these qualities we have looked at, and add the ethics of the profession, then you are good to go. But then there are also areas that may be higher than what you know. What do you do at such areas? We call them making referrals. You refer them. For instance, like we've been telling our lay counselors, remember, a lay counselor is not a professional counselor.
Lay counselor
now, when you have such problems you cannot handle, you refer that person to a counselor. Then there are those that maybe they're not a doctor. Yes, I remember sometime when DGO was our minister, if you come to pray for you, he will check very well. Do you have spiritual problem? Or what the doctor will solve. If you need a medical doctor, go to the hospital. He will pray for you. Do you understand me?
Yes, now.
So that's the most important thing, knowing when to refer. Because no one knows it all. It's very important. Like I said earlier, there are those who may need a professional counselor. Some may need a psychiatrist. These are the things you will check while you have your counselors before you. If you claim to know all, you'll be misleading that person. I'm a lecturer. I teach students. Now, when they ask me a question I do not know, because I don't know it all, I will tell them, let's give it a rain check. We come back and do what? And then we look into it. But if I claim to know all, I'll be misleading them. I don't know it all. Like I said earlier, I teach the English language. It is not my fatherland. I studied it. I spent several years before I got there. But even then, I don't know it all. We learn every day. Check the dictionary we use. Every day, new words are coming into it. Look for an old Oxford English dictionary.
It's Oxford Dictionary.
This word, shenanigan, is not there.
Okay.
But look for a modern one. You see shenanigan there, and they'll tell you the meaning.
If you go now, Oxford Dictionary, where you hear that they are the name of.
So we learn every day. Nobody knows it all. If you need somebody to help you, refer. It is dangerous for an amateur to counsel. Remember we said Anybody can give advice based on his knowledge. But the issue is, how sound is the advice? That's what we need to check. I have watched a short clip where a married woman was advising the other married woman how to behave in her home, how to treat the husband. What was she telling the other young lady? You are newly married. If your husband, tell him, no, I won't do it. Am I a slave in your house? That's an advice. And then they now showed the other woman advising the younger person in her own home. When the husband came back, she knelt down to serve the husband. But she has misled the younger one, who went back and started quarreling with the husband. You can't treat me like that. I'm a modern woman. So how sound is the advice you are giving? That means we must always base our advice on the Torah. Not just on personal experience. They all come together to form a complete whole. Now, let us see the case of Ahithophel and Hushai. I think we all know that story. We know Ahithophel as a trained counselor. As if when he speaks, it's as if the Lord himself did what? And David knows that. So when there was trouble, and David left the throne, and he learned that Ahithophel is with Absalom, he shook. Because he knew that the counsel Ahithophel will give will be correct. So what did David do? Anybody? He prayed one. He did something else. He prayed. He did another thing. He sent I think it's Hushai. Yes, to go and counter the Yes, and that was what saved him. Counseling. Now, that particular advice he was about to give them, it may be the correct one, but in that particular situation, it is not safe for David. So he had to do something. So we have, we have people who can cancel that, but we are still questioning, is it sound counsel? Is the advice sound? These are the things we must always bear in mind. Now, let's look at the hazards of the counseling profession. Counseling is good, but it's filled with a whole lot of hazards. Why should the solution to a problem come to you? For instance, you may get somebody and counsel the person. You solve his problem. Suddenly he becomes angry. Why is he angry? Why didn't he find out the solution himself? Why must it be you that will give him the solution? Problem has arisen. He could go. That's another hazard. And it is now left for you to see how to maneuver and come out with wisdom out of that situation. The person may even want to harm you. It is known. Yes. And then there may be also a process of counseling where the person has divulged secrets to you. Very delicate secrets. When his eyes cleared, or when you have solved his problem, you, the counselor, may be at danger. Because he may say, how come? How did I tell this person this thing? He may tell another person, Or when he sees me, he'll be looking at me somehow. And then we find a way to harm you. So these are the hazards of the profession. But then if the counselor does his or her work intelligently, the client may not detach from you. And then you be careful how to handle it. There is another hazard. You may handle a client, and because of the way you solve the client's problem, the client now becomes attached to you. He sees you as his or her God. It happens. As a minister, have you had such issues?
Yes.
Yes. And then there are areas, assuming you are a minister and a male, and a female came to you with family problem. And because of the way you solve the problem, the female becomes attached to you. Assuming the husband has been maltreating him. And this time she comes to you. You talk to her, trying to calm her and solve her problem. She will become attached to you, leaving the husband. In such areas, you will be careful, so that you don't become attached to your clients. Always have that professional boundary. That boundary should be there. It happens. Exactly. So make sure that at the end of every counseling season or session with a particular client, you cut the relationship. But assuming the person has become so much attached to you, what do you do? Number one, you have yourself to blame for giving the clients that opportunity, not noticing when that attachment began. Exactly. You didn't handle it effectively. But assuming it has happened and you have noted it, then find a way and distance yourself. So you don't spoil what you have. Now, if the counselor divulges confidential information of a client to unauthorized persons, it may lead to any form of danger. Remember, we said that you can never divulge any information of your client. Unless at the point of death. Or something that can not be safe with the environment. But assuming you divulge that information, and the client gets to know of it, you are in danger. It depends on the person's personality. If he's a violent person, he can do anything to you. He can sue you. So while we are getting ready for counseling, we should also be aware of these hazards. Which if we are careful, they may not arise. But assuming they arise, seek the advice of a professional. And then pray. Because in doing this, we can never forget the importance of prayer. Types of guidance and counseling. We have educational guidance, vocational guidance, and personal guidance. We have three major types of guidance counseling. The first one is educational guidance.
Educational guidance.
This is where you guide people concerning their educational careers. And then we have vocational. Trying to help them fix themselves into something. What is your vocation in life? At least I know some people who have divine calls. And they refuse to answer. And they answered when it was almost late. Maybe the person hadn't someone to advise him. August, is it this peanut they pay them? How will I train my children? This and that. That person has missed the mark. But if that person had somebody who guided him in the vocation, he wouldn't have made that mistake. And then we have people who are good in tailoring. Do you understand me?
Yes.
The talent there is there. I must go to school. Go to school, fine. But after all said and done, you come back there because that's where you are. Or some people in carpentry.
One
of my cousins was complaining to me. The child finished school SAT. And then he told me, I know you can do electrical works. Why don't you go, while you are waiting for your JAMB and admission, join an electrician and be doing something with him. Say, no, me do electrician. But in the house, when anything spoils, the boy will effectively work it out and then the thing will start working.
Wow.
But the boy refused. You see, the person lacked what? Guidance. Yes, vocational guidance. Especially the youths of these days. The children of these days. They don't want to hear such things. They want exactly. Actually, and they don't miss which is very wrong. So we also need to open our eyes. See, the essence of this, when we began this thing, is for our youths. But when we started, we noted also that not only youths that need counseling. We have people with a lot of aches. I'm telling you the truth. Not just the youths. But we are concentrating on them because they are our future. We are losing them. Now, these days, all of them are going back to Omenana. That's what they say. Missing the mark. Why? Religion has failed them. Religion failed what?
The youths.
And they are going back to tradition, which is wrong. What do they know is tradition? They don't know what tradition is. That's why we need to walk in their midst and draw them back. Apart from that, what do you think about marriage failures? In those days, we hear it outside. But these days, it's in the community, true or false? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. No, they are separated. They are divorced. Is it part of Torah? How do you then feel when you see such things? Have we not failed our children? We have failed them. Because if we had guided them right, such things will not happen. If it were heard outside, is it supposed to be in the community? This last, I think, the last Passover feast, we got a whole lot of complaints in our office about young men and women, young couples fighting. They said the other person slapped the wife in front of the high tab and then went in. Aye. And then we saw some who came to feast with other men. And a whole lot of things are doing. Have we not failed them? Right from our home. So we need to go back to the drawing board. And when we call parents to come and listen to us and hear how to handle the youth, they will not come. You call the youth, very few will come. You see just the young ones. What do they know? I don't know if any of you have had that experience. We call them, they won't come. For their businesses. Still, what is happening is that's why we said if we come to the ministers, at least when they attend worship, all of them are there. We begin to handle these topics. At least you can devote a day, a Sabbath, and say, today is for this topic.
If na synagogue, Sabbath is even if I get better about counseling.
And you talk to them, they won't leave your synagogue. Even if they leave, they will be outside.
It could be
because sometimes during preaching, they leave the synagogue. Even if they're outside, they will do what? Let us start to tackle this thing from different angles. At this rate, very soon, you said they're married today, the next they are separated. And then we have a whole lot of immorality in our midst. We need to wake up because a whole lot of things are going wrong, especially with the youth. I say go back to the youth. Like I said earlier, but I went at the youth. It may help us. But then what if we get the youth and they look up to us as models? Remember, as you are seated here, you are models for all of us. And then we find these wrongs among you, the models. What will happen? When you talk to them, will they listen? In other words, if you have a glass house, don't throw stones. Because you are looked up to as perfect men of and women of God. But then when you go out there and misbehave, may Hashem help us.
Amen.
Then the last one is personal guidance.
Personal guidance.
I think we have touched most of these things. When people come with personal problems, you sit down and listen. Analyze, understand, and then respond. Then counseling has 3 main types, which include mental health counseling.
It
has to do with mental. Not just mad people. There are people who may have wonderful ideas floating in their head.
Okay.
And then they don't know how to harness those ideas.
Yeah. But when
they come to you, you can now sit them down, listen, and they help them to harness what they have upstairs. And then we still have some who have psychological problems. They are still under mental health counseling. You look at them and help them. We have people who have phobia. We have different types of phobia. We have young men who are afraid of women. Do you know such a thing? You'll be asking them to get married. They won't get married. Anxious on a mental health problem. You listen, then see how to guide the person. Not just that, we have other areas. I'm just citing that as an example. And what so you need to sit down, find out what that thing is, and then help the person.
Very, very important. On the Sabbath.
And then we have marriage, family and marriage counseling. Yes. Now, when we talk about family and marriage counseling, it covers all areas of family. We have pre-marriage, people who are about to get married. We have marriage counseling. They are married, but maybe they are having issues. They come to you and then you help them. In our counseling unit, we used to tell the young couple that after their marriage, when we are preparing them for marriage, we tell them, when you have issues, please come back. Even if you don't have issues, once in a while, come to us, talk to us. We talk to you. And maybe in that instance, you notice something and then nip it in the bud. We don't have to wait until it becomes worse before we. Our problem is that we wait until And what does it trace in Mekwatea? So that's the essence of family and marriage counseling. Then certain families have issues among themselves. We have sibling rivalry. Have you seen that?
Yes,
they need to be cancelled. And then we have issues where the children are with the mother. The father is alone. It's a problem. It's a problem. The family is a neat unit. A unit knit together. Where you have one voice. Then we have career counseling. I think we have talked about it somewhere. People who are looking for what they are going to do.
Yes.
You help them choose. And then we have school counseling and other goal-focused areas of counseling that address wellness. There are people who don't know how to eat or take care of themselves. Wellness counseling. He's well-to-do, but he doesn't know the right food to eat. He doesn't know that at a certain age in life, there are certain things you cannot eat. As a youth, you like sugar. If you want to drink tea, 2 spoons of sugar or 5 cubes of sugar. By the time you come to 40, 50, 60, okay, keep on taking that. The result will just come up in your system. Or because you are wealthy. Every day you are eating meat. No problem. When the time comes, you won't even eat the smallest bite. That means whatever it is, you need counseling. How do you eat? How do you take care of yourself? How do you exercise? What fruit do I eat? Which one do I not eat? And so forth and so on. Now we move to what is known as para-counseling and lay counseling. These are 2 approaches that provide guidance in mental health and emotional well-being. But they come from individuals that are not trained. Para-counseling and lay counseling. They are counseling coming from not from professionals, but people who are just trained. You can go short course training for you to handle it. That's what we actually have in the community. We only have 2 professional counselors in our midst. Every other person, they help us, and then we attend short courses to improve ourselves. So para-counseling is provision of basic counseling services by individuals who have received some training but not fully licensed.
or accredited professional counselors. You know, counselors have certificates. They have a body who will accredit you, and they give you a license. Now, if you studied counseling in school, you are not part of that body. You don't have a license. You are a para-counselor.
Okay.
They can, if you come into their midst, they will say you are not part of them. Because you are not part of their, you need to belong to them. Just like Kohen. Do you have engineers here? Kohen is for engineers. You are a practicing engineer, but you are not part of them. You don't have their seal. Whatever you are doing, you're your own. So also with para-counseling. So a para-counselor is trained, but not accredited or licensed. You may see them working in hospitals or caregiving homes and things like that, or even in schools. We have people who read educational counseling. I'm a para-counselor. I read counseling in one of my courses in my university, so I know a bit about counseling, and then the short courses I attend. But I'm not a professional counselor. But we have those who are professional counselors, who are licensed, they teach it, they operate. And then we still have those who are professionals, but not licensed.
Okay.
You can find some of them in schools teaching. They don't have an office where they operate.
Okay.
As a professional counselor. We still have some of them. Then we move to lay counseling. Now, this involves providing informal counseling and support by persons who are not professionally trained or certified as counselors, of which we are part of. We are not professionally trained, and you are not certified, but you are being trained to handle counseling, whether in your family, with others, or in your synagogue, and anywhere where it is needed. Okay. And such people are not equipped to handle complex problems. If somebody has a mental issue, then they are not equipped to handle it. It is such people that they do referral. Refer the person to a professional.
Are you no go? Are you no go and ekunya ndi na masịrị ya ọfụma? O nwere nke ga-abụ ebiekwuta ya kwugo ya na mbụ ịchọ onye ka marasị ya jikwa onye dị otu a ma ọ kpọjeri onye dị otu a.
Okay. Basic skills training for lay counselors and para-counselors. These are some of the skills that a lay counselor and para-counselor needs. One of them is active listening. A lay counselor, a para-counselor needs active listening. You must learn how to listen. If you don't listen, you will not understand. And if you don't listen well, you may miss out points. It is through active listening that you can listen in between what he has said to pick out the ones that are unsaid. That will help you. Now, in active listening, you are not expected to be pressing your phone while your client is talking to you. It is unethical. It is not done.
Unethical
Even in
conduct.
your family, if your wife is talking to you and you are pressing your phone, or your child is talking to you and you are pressing your phone, hey.
Your phone na atugo onye obuna nwunye gị na-agwa gị okwu biko adị na apị phone nwa gị na-agwa gị okwu adị na apị phone
because your attention will be divided.
Maka na ime ye ntị gị niile na obi gị niile ama adị n'ihe ọ na-ekwu.
So to get active listening, drop your phone.
Ka I wee bụrụ onye na-aṅa ntị ọfụma mgbe ọbụla gị na mmadụ ga-akpụ bụ debe phone gị.
If you are watching football, switch off.
Ọ bụrụ na bọọlụ ka ị na-enene ọbata ịgbanyụwa ya.
Is it music? Switch off.
Ọ bụrụ na egwu na-eti imenyụwa ya.
So you can listen.
Ka I wee gee ntị ọfụma.
The next one is reflection. Reflection is after you have listened, then in your own words, You try to reflect on what you have heard.
Nke bụ about reflection. Ọ bụ na ekwusi ya ịnọdụ anyị. Iwerezi ọbụla ochekọba ihe niile ekwuru.
To check whether you have understood what the person said.
Ka ịnwa ị ga-achịkọta ọfụma ihe niile onye ahụ kwuru.
And what you can get from what the person said.
Na efe ị ga-achịkọpụta n'ihe niile onye ahụ kwuru.
And then begin to help the person.
Iwe nweke inyere onye ahụ aka.
And then we have the one known as attending skills. These are the skills through which the counselor can share himself with the client. Attending skills. That means when the client comes to you, after listening to him, if you have had such an experience,
okay,
you can share your experience with him and to strengthen him.
Attending skills are onwe mkpa mmadụ ga-eburu wee bịakwute gị. Ọ bụrụ ife ịgabigago, i were ihe ahụ ịgabiga na ihe pụtara n'ime ya wee kwazie wee mara ya atụ ọghọdụta onwe ya.
Let me use widows as an example.
Ka m were nwaanyị ajedumala gị atụ.
You have lost your husband.
Di gị nwụnara oge.
And then you find another person who suddenly lost his or her.
I wee fụ onye ọzọ emekata di nwụnara ya.
The person will relate more to you.
Onye ahụ ọ ga-akọwalụ gị ọfụma maka ọ ma na ị na-agabiga ihe ọ na-agabiga.
Yes. Than a person who hasn't lost his or her own.
Karịa ka ọ ga-akọlụ onye di ya ka nọ dị ndụ.
Because you have passed through that experience.
Maka na ihe a ọ na-akọlụ gị ọ ma na ịgabiga gị ya.
You cannot say I understand.
I nwee ike isi ya aghọta m.
Just like the Kohen Gadol said.
Dịka Kohen Gadol na-ekuzili anyị.
Don't say you understand.
A sịkwa na ịghọta.
When you haven't experienced.
Ma ọ bụ na di gị ka dị ndụ.
It is only when you have passed through or gone through that experience.
Ọ mgbe ihe a mere di gị anọrọsi.
Then you can relate.
Nwaanyị ajadebekwute gị si a na-ịghọta.
Then we have clarification. Okay, still under attendance case, we really should be very careful about this because situations differ.
Yes.
You may apply your own experience to another person's experience and it may not work.
If you go in a queer, I got much anya because nobody told the lonya called the lonya. In where the ike, well, it was the Leonardo onion cause odo, manomaga.
In using attendance case, you really must be very careful to decipher whether that particular situation will help the person or not.
You were mammy, he got bigger. Me will do onion cause Moga Dabaria.
Because there may the situations you may use and it aggravates the situation.
Oh, well, on the get you where do I order? So
the important thing is that your experience matters. Then we come to clarification. Under clarification, you use your experience or what you have understood from what the person said, the information you glean from what he said to explain the situation. I said earlier, there are people who may come to you with a problem, but they may not actually be vocal enough to understand what they are going through. But after listening to the person, using your wealth of experience, you can say, this is exactly what this person needs. And then you cancel the person. That is clarification. And then we have questioning. Questioning is the person comes to, there are people who have problems, they come to you. They won't know how to express themselves. Or they won't want to tell you the problem. Now you can use questioning. When you throw 2, 3 or more questions, from the answer to the question, you may find out what the problem or how to help the problem. That's why questioning is very, very important. And then, using questioning, there are different types of questioning. We have open-ended questioning, and then we have closed-ended questions. Now, when you talk about open-ended questions, they will ask you, what do you think? How do you feel? Could you? Do you understand me? When you say, could you explain further? You are giving the person room to give more explanation. The answer is never yes or no. You are giving the person a room to explain himself or herself. Now, it is important to, you can, depending on individuals, you can use questioning method to open a counseling session. You may even start with innocent questions. How are you? How are you feeling? What do you do for a living?
Good.
How is your husband? And your children? Where do you come from? Now, through this question, first of all, you have made the person to relax. When the person is relaxed, you can throw more questions pertaining to the challenges the person came before you. Because when he sees empathy coming from you, he will open up. But if you are abrupt, what is it? What is it? How can I help you? Nothing, sir. I just came to greet you. Because you didn't give the person the opportunity to open up. Always look for an alternative when solving a client's problem. Always use an alternative when you are defining a problem. Somebody has a problem, and then you try this way, you didn't get the answer you need. You can try another way. Yes, because alternatives can help you to pinpoint the particular problem you are looking for. When asking the client about each client, always frame questions. You can use what, how, could you, would you? By giving the person an opportunity to give you more answers. That's why we call it open-ended questions. For example, you may have the question, how will you like to finance payment for this or that? Assume some clients came to you, they are preparing for their wedding, and they are preparing an elaborate wedding. They want to call this, call that, call that. Then you can now ask them a question. How would you like to finance payments of this or that? Now, through the answer, you now know whether they have it or not. And then advise them whether to go on or leave it. That is through open-ended question. And then he says, how will you like your in-laws to be treated in your home? You listen and hear from them. They may be acceptable. Some may not be. So from the provided answers, you can now know how to advise. Then we come to close-ended questions. Close-ended questions act for facts. They want factual answers. And they begin with when. Who is your friend? Mr. John Okeke is my friend. They didn't say, how do you make a friend? But who is your friend? Or what is your source of fund? What? How do you do this? Or how often? Maybe you have families where they are quarreling who will take up a chore, a particular chore in the family. And then you may ask them, who will take care of the household chores? Then the fact will be, my wife or me. Answer. A factual provision of the answer. Because of the type of question you asked. So that's why we say at certain stages, you need to know when to use open-ended questions and when to use close-ended questions. Remember, open-ended questions give room for the person to talk. Opinions can come in. But in close-ended questions, we need facts. We are looking for a particular information, and the person will provide it. Okay, let's move forward. I'm trying to see whether we can rush it up. We have skills for handling resistance. What is resistance? Somebody needs counseling. He came to you for counseling. but they may not open up to talk to you. You now say, how do you handle them?
In
other words, you need some skills to handle them. Trying to avoid giving you the information is needed. It's not, how do I say it? It's not intentional. It may not be intentional. One. Or it may be intentional. They want to hide certain areas from you. Somebody may come to you and tell you that this boy is disturbing me. Remember, this boy is disturbing me. So you need to ask questions. What led to this? How come? What's happened? You know, she may not open up initially. But the way you asked questions, the way you listened, the way you showed empathy, then you get to the root. It still depends on individual. There are people who may come in and they won't talk. He said we can have silent or persistently aloof. Each time you have a counseling session, he will come in. They won't talk. They'll be looking at you. They will not talk. And you as a counselor, you'll be confused. These are the problems we have. And then they may even miss appointments. You have designated days of appointment. That day come, they will not come. And then you have to call the person. And they give you one flimsy excuse or not. All of them are resistance to counseling. Then some are hostile. Some make plenty arguments. You talk to them, they give you 10,001 reasons why it shouldn't be what you are telling them. How do you handle them? Then some will try to change the topic. We are talking about one thing. They will change the topic. So you will get to the root of the person's problem. Especially among the teens. They will try to hide yourself. I don't know whether you have teens in your house.
Yes.
Before you get something from them, they will hide. It's in the generation. How do you get this information from them? Sometimes they test your patience. Then some appear to be uncooperative or inattentive. I have had somebody who came for counseling and we are talking, the person is pressing the phone. How do you help the person? That means you must have some ground rules. If you are counseling, no pressing of phone. No answering of phone. Because all of them are to throw you off balance. Then some show overt rejection of the counselor's interpretations. You may interpret their problem. They won't accept it. They may not speak out. But their action shows.
Body language.
I don't agree with you. I'm sure some ministers can relate. If you have people, we can the docile. Man, the behavior, body language shows in such cases, what do we do? Now, use the following skills. If they want to be silent, be silent. 1 hour, look at yourselves. The next day you begin. I am Monica, walk where? And but then you now will now try as a counselor to see whether there are other alternatives. There are some diehards. When you look at them, they look at you.
Oh, when they go,
yes. Why there are some, when you look at them, the fear of God will be in them.
When they go be there,
they may begin to talk.
yes.
But those diehards, come Jupiter, they won't talk. You need to find an alternative to get to them. And then you may change mode of interaction to intellectual discussion. That means you leave the particular problem the person is talking about. If the person is interested in football, talk football. Talk football. In the process, you can chip in one question out of football. Unknowingly, he may answer the question. You are making progress. Don't make it too obvious. Find something of mutual interest. Start your discussion from there. Along the line, the chip on his shoulder will begin to fall. When he sees that you are ready to listen to him, then he may begin to talk. But like I said, there are those who are
die hard.
They may not listen to you. And then you can change speed of verbalization and sitting position. You may be talking fast. I know I talk fast a lot. And sometimes I have to draw myself back. If you feel that you are talking very fast, then you slow down so the person will listen. Or you change your sitting position so that you'll be looking at the person. Some people will not like you to look at them.
Yes.
Find a sitting position so that you get to the person. These are always. Then we can digress from the discussion. And then talk something that is less threatening to the person.
Yeah.
Until the person now reverts, understands. Yes. And the person will now listen to you. Reflect on the feelings of resistance. Resistance. Some may reflect on that. If the feeling comes, you can leave the person. Allow him to go. Another day you reschedule. And then you can use open and close questions to confront the clients. He doesn't want to say anything. Then you can be asking the person questions. Through questions, you now understand the person's problems, fears, and how to help the person. But if the client becomes too aggressive, there are aggressive clients. You want to talk to them, don't talk to me. You know such heady boys. And then the parents will like to report them to the pastor. So you train them overnight. And when they enter your office, the aggression is still in them. The anger is still in them. If you cannot quell it at that particular moment, allow the person to go until the person's head cools. Or you may refer the person to another person. If you feel you cannot handle it, then you refer. You refer. Under normal circumstances, once the client shows signs of satisfaction with the issues being discussed, the counselor terminates the counseling session. Once your client understands your problem, what do? You cancel because you have finished what you have with him. You cancel it. Now, how do we manage and hold counseling sessions? We have seen some of the hazards, some of the problems inherent there. How do we hold counseling sessions? 1, prioritize session planning. Plan your session. Don't let it be sudden, or don't be found unprepared. Plan beforehand. I'm going to have a client by 12 noon. Then whatever you are doing, 12 noon you are in your office.
Yes.
Waiting for the clients.
If you go to see where now for the make counseling, when about not 12 o'clock, 12 to 12, not there.
Assuming you went out and then came in a bit late, and then there is something you are supposed to have done then, and your client is there, drop what you are doing, go and meet your client. Because it shows you value that client. But if you leave him and be doing something else, he will see that I am not valuable to you. Listening to you may be difficult to him. Then set clear goals. Set clear goals. You have listened to the person. What am I going to do to help the person? On your own, you can write it down. This is the person's problem. How do I help him? You set goals. Maybe my aim is to help this person learn how to manage her household. And then you set terms on how to achieve it. Step-by-step goals on how to get to your goals. Step-by-step priorities, arrange them so that we achieve a particular goal. If you don't have a goal, you won't achieve anything. So that is important. You set very clear goals. Then number 3, allocate sufficient time. Most often, on a day, you'll say so.
Okay.
And let me use, for instance, the counseling sessions we have, the pre-marriage counseling. They have set a date for their marriage. The counsel that is supposed to be for 3 months, they have set a month, a date, maybe in 3 weeks' time, and then they come for counseling. If you refuse, you don't want them to wait. You want them to. They will tell you they will go to another church and wait.
If I cancel a bond way, if I will be going invitation or if they think if I ever foresee be Zukanab or ever canceling. Why should
our own be different? If you go to other churches, 6 months counseling, true or false? 6 months, 6 good months. And they monitor you. See that the girl is not living with the man. They monitor you. It's a test or what a falsified test. We have seen them.
It is not even or immo for one. It's a test. What I even abraze yoku. Well, away bidonyabo and dinner.
How do we do this? Okay. May Hashem help us. So we should allocate sufficient time to counsel. That's why we said if we come to the ministers, they will help us. You know, talk to your youths. If you want to get married, fine. The new knowledge we have in Torah has also made it easy for us. The woman is your own, true or false? When you are searching, Bidonu counseling, we tell you what to look for. Some men don't know what they look for in a woman. Without character. 2 days, they are separated. Be going to start counseling where you want to search. We will help you. What is needed in a family? What is expected from a woman? Maranke, 3 days. How many divorces do we have in the community? Nandi kumwa mande kuro. Ona the painful. Ona the painful. If it is heard outside, why should it be in the community? When we say we have the Torah, how are we then bringing our children up? That's why I say the ministers, you have a whole lot of job. We need to get to the parents. Begin to teach your children at home. Then if we have these seminars we have for teens and youths, make your youths come. Make the parents also come to learn how to manage their youth. They don't know how to manage. Even at a very tender, I remember the volunteer teachers. No parent now has time to teach their children. They dump them on teachers.
On the volunteer teachers.
But you should start at home. When
the
child is still very tender. 2 years or child walk at a you is I say, mothers, is it true? When you are still suckling the child, if he bites you on the breast, what happens? Before he bites you, he will look at your face. He will look at your face. He said, no, what I when he bites you and you beat the child, before he bites you again, he will look at your face. So if you tell me that a child of 2 years, it's a lie. They know. Teach them. Then the next one is using effective scheduling techniques. Effective scheduling techniques. Find out a time suitable for you and your client. And finally, minimize distractions. Our counseling sessions are full of distractions. We don't have offices.
And what office?
We don't have offices, which we need.
Counseling.
Luckily, this feast, last feast, Hashem gave us an office at the new resource center.
Hallelujah.
For GNC.
The guidance and counseling we go office
to operate during the major festivals. But then in our various centers, we don't have offices. We need office because counseling demands secrecy. Somebody may have a problem, they won't come to you because they know you don't have an office. People will want to get married, they won't come to you. Because it's an open place. Everybody will know that I'm getting married. And then they will disturb the marriage or say something. But if it is done in a secluded place, nobody will be afraid of distractions. Okay. Now, through the application of the listed measures, a counselor can create a structured and focused environment that maximizes the therapeutic process. Remember, counseling is therapeutic in nature. Therapeutic means you provide solutions, suiting solution to the person. Then we have further tips that will help you on your sessions. One of them is make sure the focus is on the client. Focus on your client. Don't focus on yourself. Walk the line between pushy and cuddling. Watch the line between pushy and cuddling. Being pushy is pressing the person to do what you want to do. And then cuddling, petting the person. Draw the line between them. Don't lean more on pushy. Don't lean more on cuddling. Be at the center. A little pushy, they said a little here and a little there. So you strike a balance. But if you lean more on being pushy, it depends on the individual. They may run away from you. If you are too cuddly, then the person becomes attached to you. Or you may even feel that you cannot solve his or her problem. But maintain a balance. Stay confidential. Confidential. Don't leak. We have mentioned all these things. Don't leak information pertaining to your client. That's why we still say we need offices. Wherever we have centers, when you go back, help us find an office for counselors so they can maintain confidentiality. Then ask for clarification. When somebody talks to you, a client, if you don't understand, don't assume. Seek for further clarification from the client. You said this thing is like this. Explain more. Let me understand. Because if you don't understand, you misdirect. But when you understand, then you'll be careful to counsel. Then practice your questions. In other words, counseling is just one day. Find time to practice the questions you will ask the person. The person has come for the day. You talk to the person, and then you end the session. When you go back and practice, after analyzing the problem the person brought, practice the questions you ask the person and how to counter. Because we may have this particular question. The person may answer another way not expected. Then find also a way to counter the person. Because it is unexpected. Anything can come out of it. Structure the session. How do we structure our session? You graduate from level onto level so that you arrive at a conclusion that will favor your clients. And when you do all these things, you see that we will get what we want. So how do you structure a counseling section? When we do it structure by structure, it means we have grades, categories, how it is done. For example, we stick to a particular pattern, have an introduction. The first time the person comes, have an introduction, simple, little questions. And then you may close the session. And then the next time, you gather information based on what you have discussed with the client. You can ask the client further questions to boost what the problem is and then find out a solution. And then discuss the problem with the client. And then conclude. At the conclusion, you go back and do your homework. This solution I'm providing, is it the correct one? Or are there other ways? Even if it entails you meeting another client, another professional who will help you, you can do that. All of them are to help you. Okay. These are the structuring of a counseling session. In other words, counseling session is not done haphazardly. It's always an organized session, systematic in nature. You have to be systematic. If you are not, then you may be thrown off balance. Why am I saying being thrown off balance? The youths of these days know more than we do. They can research. Knowledge is at the fingertip of everybody.
Yeah.
So if you don't give them the right counseling, they may challenge you there. But when you are knowledgeable in what you are doing, you'll be able to get them. Then we have other stages, which is known as initial visit, middle visit, and final visit. Initial visit is where you have the introduction. You get to know each other. The client tells you who you see, and then you can personally introduce yourselves, and then little questions, and then you dismiss. And then you have the middle questions. The problem is now coming out. You may have, depending on the problem, you may have several sessions or one or two, and the problem is solved. And then the final visit means your session is ended. You have achieved the goal of counseling the person. Okay. Then we have what we know as arrival of the counselor. I think I have mentioned that before. Don't keep your counselee waiting. It doesn't say well of you. Receive the client warmly. Be warm. Establish rapport, empathy. Establish rapport. Relate one-on-one. Don't feel you are above and the person is below you. Attend to them at your own level. Then explain the rules. Like I said earlier, I will tell you, once you come in, please don't touch your phone. Either you put it in an airplane mode or vibration. Put it in your bag until we finish our session. But when you are having a counseling session, making phone calls, you are belittling yourself. So establish the rules between you and your clients beforehand. Then explain the need for counseling before marriage. I think I have mentioned that. That is important we counsel our young ones before they get married. Yes. You see your friend, hey, just wedded. The wedding gown is beautiful. The hall is beautiful. The music was fine. I want to get married. And then you marry. 2 days or 1 hour. The next 2 weeks, they are separated. I can't do this. Because they were not cancelled. So let's begin early. Actually, we are trying to start from teenage to educate them. So that by the time they get to the age of searching, they already know what they want. Searching needs to be cancelled. Cancel our youths. You want a wife, you search. You don't just pick. Eliezer went to Ur of Chaldea to look for a wife for Isaac. True or false?
True.
He went to search. And a whole lot of other things. So, but our youths, some will like to test the salt. Test the food to check whether there is salt there. Then some will want to offer egusi, some will want to nubu, and then some want to offer. It doesn't work like that. So these are the areas we need to touch so we get our children, because they are slipping out of our hands. If you check the rate of divorces in the community, and then if you see some of them still there, we have wife batterers. And then we have those who kept their wife in the house and then looking for other women. True or false?
True.
Is it supposed to be there? Then what are we doing? How are we protecting the community that we have? Do we have any other place?
No.
This is our final bus stop. So we need to protect it. Guide our children. With this rate, when these ages that are here, when we are no longer there, what will the community turn into? If we continue at this rate. So we really need to make hay while the sun is still shining. How do you summarize a counseling session? It is important to have a tidy session. Don't leave it hanging. Make sure that you have something concluded. And that means you must be organized, especially when you have a structure on ground. If you have a structure, you follow the structure and get it done. For every counseling session, show a fact. What did we achieve today? What did we achieve? It will help the person coming to know that his time is not wasted. Prepare the counseling for the next session. Get the counseling ready. This is what we are going to discuss in the next session. Prepared. Then summarize client information, and in doing that, facilitate understanding. Make them understand what their problem is, because you are there as a facilitator. They may have one problem, be telling you another one, but after listening to their problem, it is left for you to keep it organized and then know this is the problem. You help the person understand himself or herself more. Help clients to see the bigger picture. Some people have minute eyes. That's where their POV ends, their point of view. But as an enlightened person, you know what you are doing, you're educated, you know you have the Spirit of God in you. Help them to see a bigger picture. I remember in those days when we are asking our children, learn a handicraft. So, what are you saying? Because, but these days, who are the people ruling? Onye can never go hungry. A cabinet maker can never go hungry. But look at our children, they have their certificates, no job. And then they now go back, and then the illiterate trains them. Help them see the bigger picture as you counsel them. Okay, he came to you for counseling on marriage. And then they bring 2 or 3 pictures. You begin to ask them questions. Before you pray, ask them questions on this. What do you like about this person? What qualities? What and what has this? And then after asking, you can help him or her see the big picture. He may be looking at beauty or looking at, this person comes from a wealthy family. That's why you are going there. But after listening to the qualities of what he or she wants, you can now help the person to see a bigger picture because his own is myopic, and that will help him move forward. Identify common themes and the patterns. You can relate with what has passed. Say, look at this. This happened like this. Look at this. By relating, it can also help the person move forward. These are ways you can now summarize. Be concise while you are doing it so that the person will understand. The person will not understand 1 or 2 things you are saying. But when you are concise, you hit it on the nail, the person will grab it. It depends on the person's intelligence. Use clear language to reflect the counselee's word. In the word, the counselee will understand. Use clear language. Highlight relevant themes in your discussion. The important points you want that client to remember, don't forget to mention them, so that the person will now focus on it. After a session, you can say, remember, these are the things we discussed. We discussed that in character is better than beauty. We discussed this. Mention the themes, and then the person will now carry it back and reflect on them, ready for another session. Okay. In ending a counseling session 2, give the dates of the next appointment. Date, day, and time. And then be sensitive. Assuming the client says, on this particular date, I will not have the time to come. What do? Do you dismiss the person? You can reschedule. Okay, if it's not convenient, can we have another date? You are being sensitive. Don't feel irritated with a client. Some of them have irritating behaviors, but you don't have to show it. As a counselor, you have to condone. Some may even insult you. Yes, you have to condone them. Don't pretend because maybe he's your daughter's friend or he's your relation, and then you hide the truth from the person. No. Always be true to yourself. If you are pretending and that person eventually finds out that you are pretending, he will never trust you again. So always be true to what you are doing. And then be ready to accept the counselee's past and move on. Several counselees or clients have sordid past. If they came to you and revealed the past, forget it. Never hold a counselee because of his past, especially when the counseling has left the past. Always look to the future. But then, you still need to be careful. If you let him know that, all your work is in vain. Now, having established all this, I think we are better equipped. We may still be having further, because we still have a lot of topics to handle. But I think this is all that we can achieve in this quarter. And then when we go back and we see those lay counselors in our centers, we help them. We assist them. Because I know we have had oftentimes, when we have people who want to wed, they will go to the minister. They fix date with the minister, and then the counselor will not know. It has happened a whole lot of times. When they come to you, thank you, welcome them. Then call for the counselor so that both of you can sit down. If they tell you this is the date they want to wed, ask them, have you undergone counseling session? You are helping them. Because if a whole lot of them have attended counseling session, and we are very prepared to listen and apply what they were taught, I don't think we'll be having what we are having today. Some will attend, but they will not pay attention. I have told you that everybody here, in one way or the other, everybody here, in one way or the other, you may need counseling. If we don't provide it for the community we are in, where do we think we can get the right counseling? That's why all hands must be on deck to achieve this. What is still most worrisome is this issue of marital problems. We will ask that to help us, and then we'll see how we are going to handle it. Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you. Do we have any question? Thank you.
Continue to appreciate our mother. Wow. What a great teaching. Mother, may Hashem bless you. It shall be well with you. May he also grant you journey mercy as you go back to Oka. Shout hallelujah. We are coming to the end of the today's section, but we have one more speaker. But we are going to make it very brief. One, we will plead with Shali Akobi not to come for interpretation. I believe he is even tired. What we are trying to do is, we don't want to stay here till Friday because from the program, because Daddy will be teaching tomorrow. If we don't take this brief, this one is very brief, from the secretary mission, you know that it may be difficult for us to end tomorrow. And I want us to end tomorrow. Nothing will keep you here tomorrow. So we'll invite the secretary missions to come and give us brief information. These things that he will say today, he will not use any handout now so that he can make it very brief. But tomorrow, you'll be given the handout. When you collect the handout, you will now go through all what he will say today. You will understand it. Let us put our hands together as we welcome him.
Thank you very much, sir. Shalom lekulam. Okay, I was told to be very brief. Greetings to our senior colleagues in the house, and also to our papas and our mamas in the house in the field, and also the younger colleagues. May the Almighty strengthen each and every one of us in Hashem's name. All right. Today we are going to be looking at authority transfer procedures in the community of Hashem worldwide. Well, I want to say that this lecture is not new, but it is good that, as our Kohen Gadol always say, that we always bounce the ball. If you keep bouncing the ball, it won't roll away. But if you leave it, it will do what? It will roll away. Don't mind me. So, we all are Bible scholars. We don't need to start reading the scriptures. But I just want to refer you to what happened in the days of Joshua and Moshe, our teacher. When Moshe was passing on, we read that Moshe handed over to Joshua and also blessed him. True or false? Okay, I'll be speaking Igbo also just to help our mamas in the house. So, Ian Nekubo to Asia, a maker, all one a Ganan Zuko, na continue, Obugodu na, no news in our apugo. Otu esi agbakwa mbọ emena na onye batakwalo n'ọlụ megene na agakwa n'iru. So that is procedures of authority transfer. I just want to highlight some importance, okay, because of our time. I know some of us are already stressed out. Now, the essence of this teaching is that we, as covenant children, we have learned over time that what we are doing is not going to stop. It is continuous, true of us. Our covenant, if I name